Huples cat, coming at you from frozen Canada. Pretty cold, it's going to get colder. I watched a Titan Preparedness video recently, and while I like him and I like his channel, I have some issues with the video he put out about bugging out or getting home in the winter. I did leave him a comment, but it's more than the actual topic. I think what the issue for me is the degree of certainty some people develop with very little knowledge of actual SHTF conditions. And worse than that, they see their location, if it's a typical location for most people, as being the only location, so their idea is the only thing to do. And that's not altogether always true. The only thing certain in this life is death and taxes, unless of course you're very, very rich. Generally I would clip parts of his video into this so he actually has his voice coming out as well as mine, but I'm not altogether sure he wouldn't hit me with copyright. So what do I agree with him on? I agree that bugging out is the last option. You really should try and secure your base, your home, but if you have to bug out, then you have to bug out. But if you do, make sure you know where you're going. The time and effort people spend on bug out bags should be spent on get home bags. So far so good. So I do encourage you to watch his whole video. It is lengthy, it's worth watching. Most of his stuff is worth watching. But then he goes into a bit of a rant, and I think people like to rant because it projects a degree of certainty online, and people who agree with your rant are going to be more solid in watching your videos and giving you a like and subscribing. But that's not the point, is it? The point is, if society collapses temporarily, locally, nationally, globally, forever, we need to know what to do. If only to distract ourselves from our imminent death, we do need to know what to do. We need to do things logically and sanely. Certainty is the biggest mistake you can make in prepping. I don't care what the topic is. If you 100% know that's right and that's wrong, you're missing the plot. What he focused on in the beginning is preppers who get home bags or bug out bags who go on practices, mostly to their own gardens, and spend the entire time building a humongous fire. I agree, but I disagree. I think the fact they're even going outside without using a car to carry some stuff, even if it's only 10 feet, is actually putting them ahead of most online preppers. People like to talk, but they don't like to do. Titan Preparedness does do stuff. I mean, how much are you going to learn from some guy who buys some stuff online and goes into his garden and builds a huge fire? Now, Titan Preparedness is right. Why are you building a humongous fire? There's various reasons why you wouldn't. And he mentioned some of them, and I'm going to explain quickly why you don't light a fire on a get home or a bug out mission. Number one, weight is miles. Simply put, the lighter you go, the faster you go, the quicker you can get home or to a safe bug out location. So taking too much gear is going to slow you down, keep you outside in an unstable environment for longer and put you more at risk. This is why years ago I did a video explaining why I thought carrying 3 hairbrushes was stupid in a bug out bag. People actually supported the idea you should. Hygiene's taught in the army that way. You're not in the army in a bug out situation. An SHTF society is not going on manoeuvres with the army. That's the first one you need to know. Number two, if you light a fire, especially at night, especially if you're not in a forest, especially if you use wet wood, it's going to tell everybody where you are. That may or may not be something you want to do in a get home or a bug out situation. It's going to be situational. If you live where I live, you're going down the road in the car and snowstorm hits, ice storm hits, whatever it is, and you're trapped at the end of that road for 2 or 3 months. You might want to be able to light a fire as you try to get home to let people know where the heck you are. It's not only about escaping civil disturbance or a nuclear war. A get home bag in the vehicle is there to get you home in all circumstances. Why are you lighting a fire? Are you hunting? Are you fishing? Are you trapping? What the heck are you doing this for? You're going to get home, you've got to go to your bug out location fast, you haven't got time to make a big fire, and you certainly don't want to be cooking. You can take Lara bars or Cliff bars like I do, or peanuts, whatever you want. I happen to know of at least one outdoor survivalist who only ever carries M&Ms. I don't advise that. Diabetes is real. Snow angel. Ah, oh, man, it's cold. In some bug out conditions, lighting a fire and or cooking on it is going to let olfactory senses kick in for people near you, and they might find you. And you may not want that, or you may want that. You might want to find like-minded individuals, share what you have because you have too much, and have them come home with you. Who knows what the situation is, right? People have this fixed idea in their heads, and they're certain that's what SHTF will look like. None of us know, and hopefully none of us ever will know. Another reason you might not want to start a fire if you're going home or bugging out is simply put, drought conditions. If you're where I am, you can easily get firewood. Where I am, it's pretty simple. But a lot of people are going to spend time and effort trying to gather fire because they see fire as protective at night when they don't need to. And the energy, calories spent and the time spent gathering the firewood isn't a great idea. But if you dash off in the morning or at night, I advocate nighttime bugging out in most circumstances. You're probably not going to put the fire out properly. It takes a while to put a fire safely out. You could be causing wildfires, and chances are if you're on foot, it's close to where you live. You may not necessarily want to do that. Fire is warmth, not shelter. He advocates a 0 degree, I'm sure he means American, 0 Fahrenheit sleeping bag. Really? Long before you get to 0 Fahrenheit, you're going to need a thick sleeping pad, 2 layers at least of sleeping bag, and full set of clothes, and probably a bivvy bag or a tarp. I go with a tent. I tried it in heavy snow last year. I almost died. I got hypothermic. Nothing you can mess around with. Condensation's a thing. Let me just clean the lens. So I don't know if you can see this. It's ice from my breathing on the inside everywhere. And this condensates really quickly. Alright, let's have a look outside. Ooh. Definitely snowing. I don't know if you can see this. This is the outer part. Quite a lot of snow, right? Let's open it up. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, hello. I'm going to shut this up and go and get warm and come back later. So I was going to wait till tomorrow. But I'm glad I haven't, because the stream off the beaver pond's overflowed. When I did that, if I'd actually had a fire outside the tent, and I'd actually got up and dealt with that fire during the night by keeping it going, it would have been warmer, there would have been less condensation in the tent, and I wouldn't have got hypothermic. But because in certain circumstances, and it would be rare, the inability to make a fire during a get home or a bug out mission will kill you. Not everybody carries a full set of 0 Fahrenheit clothing in their vehicle. Not everybody carries a 0 degree Fahrenheit sleeping system in their vehicle. If you're going out to do something specific outdoors, you probably do. Most people don't even wear a decent coat in the winter, and they don't have a woolly hat and woolly gloves and a second pair of gloves with them. 2 layers is better than 1. So what I'm saying is, look at your location, look at what your weather, look what you're going to be faced with. To blithely say you do not need a fire at 0 Fahrenheit if you're getting home or bugging out strikes me as insane. I'm sorry, Titan, but it is. It's a really dangerous thing to be saying. Have you ever done that? Have you travelled 50 miles unsupported at 0 Fahrenheit or less? And don't forget wind chill. There's no way I would do that without fire equipment. In fact, I plan to carry a BioLite stove with me and kettle pot with me so I can boil snow and water on a regular basis to drink hot drinks from a thermos flask, not because I'm weak and lazy, but because in conditions like that, heat in, heat around is critical. You will blow so many calories. And let's get back to the Larabar argument. Larabar, Cliff Bars, lifeboat rations, M&Ms, whatever you use is fine. Stop the video, come back, give me a like, share, subscribe. But Google how many calories a human male will burn at 0 Fahrenheit walking through snow. I don't have much snow here. In the United Kingdom, this would be considered a complete disaster. Here it's a tiny amount. Whatever you're used to, you're used to. It's fine and it's correct to say people on good weather days who are going out into their gardens practicing bugging out, and the first thing they do is build a big fire, are wasting their time, and they shouldn't be doing it. Totally agree. No problem with that. But it's the bouncing to the extreme position because you have a decent sleeping bag. Okay. I've slept in a decent sleeping bag inside a tent on a really, really decent ground mat. The condensation got so high I almost died. And I'll tell you something, it was freezing and I was fully dressed. Now I did have some scotch and I was dehydrated and I went at it half-assed and I had better equipment to sleep in, but I was too lazy to change into it. It taught me a valuable lesson. If the only thing I can do in winter conditions like this is take 2 water bottles and fill them with hot water from a BioLite stove before I turn in for the night, that will help me. It'll help me enormously not to get cold and hypothermic, which will end you. in this type of conditions. It taught me that heat and fire are absolutely vital in deep winter conditions. There's no question about it. You've got to be able to produce lots of hot water, to have lots of high calorie food. You've got to be able to have cups of tea, cups of coffee every half hour, every hour as you walk around at -0 Fahrenheit with wind chill. So I'll be carrying a lot of fire starting gear and my BioLite stove and kettle pot if I have to bug out or get home in these types of conditions. And I advise that you guys do the same. Be careful being certain about things and overreacting to something. You got triggered by those videos. I've been triggered by them. It's crazy. I know one guy in particular who continually builds tarps in his garden wearing camo, and he has a little tiny property and he wanders around with a gun. Like, people like that will kill you and grit down because they don't know what they're doing. And in the here and now, you're absolutely wasting your time watching that type of channel. Time Prepared is a good channel, has great content, definitely worth subbing, definitely worth watching. Talking about getting things dead wrong, I'm doing a book review on The Last Policeman trilogy by Ben H. Winters. Excellent, excellent end of time stuff. Love it. Much better than A-American stuff, though I like A-American. It's all very wham bam, thank you man with the gun. This trilogy is much more realistic given the scenario, and I strongly advise that you watch it. The only thing certain in SHTF is that certainty's a trap. A couple of Bics weigh almost nothing. Put them in Ziploc bags, they stay alive. You can rub them on yourself and warm them up even at 0 Fahrenheit. Trust me, cigarette smokers do that all winter. It's not an attack on Time Preparedness. I like him, a lot of his stuff's good. It is an attack on certainty in prepping. There's far too much of it. You do this, you will die. You do this, you're wasting your time. You do this, you're doing it wrong. I don't know. All those guys he's watching online who are trying out gear in their gardens, they're trying it out. Don't knock them. Encourage them to try a bit harder, if you will. Don't knock them. They're doing stuff other people are not doing. Do check out Time Preparedness. It's a great channel, and I get it. I've often been hyperbole myself in videos. I just wanted him to know why I'd made the comment in more detail than you can in text. It's not because I disagree with you. I actually fully agree with you. People need to be practicing a bit more than in the garden, but at least they're practicing in their garden, aren't they? Most people don't. Please carry Bics with you in the forest. Please know how to start a fire. Practice that in a fire. It might save your life if it's 0 Fahrenheit. One sleeping bag is not going to do that, especially when it gets wet. Fully agree with Time Preparedness. Getting home or bugging out is not hiking. It's not camping in the wilderness. But he's wrong about starting a fire as soon as you arrive on site. He's also correct about that. Most of the time, he's absolutely right. But I disagree. 0 Fahrenheit with wind chill, you better start a fire, you better make shelter, you better make warmth. Or you're going to die. The time to practice making fire is all the time. It's a skill, it takes effort, it takes knowledge. I recently made a fire in the wilderness using natural materials. I did it using a Bic because I'm a prepper. I'm not a survivalist, I'm not a bushcrafter. I don't think it's a huge deal to store some Bics. I don't think it's a huge deal to use them to force multiply and reduce calorie spent. I think it's important to reduce your calorie output in SHTF. And frankly, if it's really cold and you're shivering, you're burning too much calories and you could get hypothermia and die. That's why in certain conditions like this, where it's probably about -10 centigrade, do the conversion. It's smart to carry fire starting material with you if you're going to be overnight in this types of condition. It's going to reduce calories spent trying to keep warm. Fire can be used to burn through fallen trees like this that you can't move manually. Because you might be getting home to bug out using a vehicle, and on the way home you might encounter trees like that. And you may not have a winch on your car, or you may not have a working chainsaw. Pinch, you can start a fire on that as you go back home and then deal with it on the way out again. It'll make it easier to actually break the tree up and get out with the vehicle. Thanks for watching, toodles. This video has been brought to you by Patsy, the latest addition to our menagerie. I don't like the name. Any suggestions?